It either look like a plus sign or.
All right. But it has to be done on y'all end, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we'll do that then. All right. Yeah. Okay. So to add a guest, whoever it is that wants to come on, you have to tap something on your end, and I can add you. I can add you when you send the request. Sorry about little technical difficulties. Let me go pull the. Let me go. No, I'm not. All right. So, sorry about that. Technology annoys me. So I told you all how I got out. Kiana, I don't know if you are in a position where you can go on camera, but see if you can add yourself. See if you can click the button to be added as a guest, and let me see if I can add you. If you look like something, if you don't look like nothing, then I won't bother you. But sorry for the difficulties, and just tag and bring your people, and we'll finish the conversation. It's 11:23, so I'm gonna get off of here in about 30 minutes because I gotta go to church in the morning. Listen, let me say this: despite what I dealt with today, I still love the church, and I still love God. Not that church, the church in general. Add Bootsy Boo. So on his end, he has to say request to be a guest, and then on my end, I can like hit add guest or something, but it has to happen on his end first. Jared, same for you. On your end, there will be something that says request to be a guest, and you'll click that, and then I can bring you on. But I still love the church. I will always love the Church of God, the body of Christ. Y'all know, many of you know, I pastor. But that particular church is not a church that is a cult. And so, one of the things I've been asked, and I'll deal with this. One of the things that I've been asked down through the years is, how do I stay with the church after all of that? The one thing, two things it is. One, my original pastor, Bishop R.P. Johnson, when I was born, the doctors told my mother I wouldn't be able to walk, talk, or function on my own. I died 3 times on the table, all kind of stuff. I was in the hospital 3 months. With them, I don't get low haircuts because I have a mark in my head and I have a mark on my neck where they had to put IVs in to sustain me as an infant. And it won't let me request to be added. Okay. Well, we'll have to worry about that another time. But my original pastor, Bishop R.P. Johnson, told my mother, he's not going to die. He's going to be fine. And not only is he going to be fine, but he's going to preach. And this was when I was trying to live as an infant. And as far back as I can remember, Bishop R.P. Johnson's nickname for me was Preacher Man. And so, okay, well, those of you who want to be a guest, we'll figure out how to do all that another time. And you can put your parts in here on the stream, and we'll figure out the guest part. There's another way to do it, but it requires me Pat York, we on. Growth and development better show out. If not, Pat York, I don't know what that means, but okay. So I always knew I would preach. I always knew that God had to be better than what I seen growing up. I always knew that what Dwayne Johnson showed me as a pastor, that couldn't be what a pastor was. That couldn't be what God was. And so, yeah, Jared is one of the young men that grew up with me. He's a little younger than I. But the stories that I'm telling you, he can substantiate. He can talk about the fact that we've seen each other get beaten naked. He can talk about the military drills. All right, I got you, Justin. Understood. I'll mind my business on that. But Jared was there. It was others of us that were there. And to this day, they will say that those of us who are telling. As a matter of fact, in the last meeting that I had with Dwayne Johnson Sr. in person, he says to me, and I quote, the devil just put a lot of stuff in your mind to try and keep you walking in unforgiveness. The devil didn't have to put anything in my mind because I can distinctly remember. So, one of the worst beatings, one of the worst ones. I was quite depressed growing up. And in 9th grade, 10th grade, it was 10th grade, I wrote a suicide letter. A group of my friends turned the letter in, and I wound up in the guidance office. Of course, that follows the course of events that it follows, and so they had to call my mother. Well, my mother never drove for herself. She never learned how to drive. So anytime she had to come up to the school, they had to bring her. As a matter of fact, they roamed the schools. Jared, I still have scars and marks as well. They roamed the schools like they owned them. I don't understand how that was allowed to happen, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But so they called, and my mother was brought up. My mother had to work. She worked at McDonald's in Manning at the time. He's telling the truth. I got my husband out there, and he still has nightmares. We're going to talk about nightmares and dreams as well. But this individual of whom she speaks is a grown man. I'm grown, but he's older than I am. And if he's still having nightmares, you all remember, some of you can go back to, I posted on May 13th about the fact that I frequently have dreams. And in those dreams, I'm not the individual I am now. Sometimes it's like I'm a kid again and in trouble for something and trying to fix something. So many of us still have trauma from being there. In any case, I wrote the suicide letter. They called my mother, but my mother had to work, so my mother did not come. The pastor and one of his assistants came, a lady. So the guidance counselor is talking about the seriousness of the letter and blah, blah, blah. At one point, the guidance counselor got up and walked out and left me in there with the pastor. And I didn't mention none of them in the letter. I talked about being depressed because I felt like I was rejected and nobody wanted me and all of that. When the guidance counselor walked out, leaned up in the chair and said, "They want me to take you to a psychiatrist. I'm going to be a psychiatrist. I'm telling you now, I'm going to bust your behind for this." And so from there I had to go to the hospital to be evaluated, and from there to mental health. This was a Friday. No, this was a Thursday. So I had to go to the mental health people, and they told me I couldn't stay with my mother that night at mental health in the hospital. They said I had to stay with one of the people who brought me to the hospital. So I stayed with the lady. And they said if I try to run out the house, call the police, blah, blah, blah. The next day, that Friday, I went to my first mental health appointment. And after the appointment, at the time, my godmother had an insurance lady that adopted our family and would take us shopping and buy us clothes because we didn't have fitting stuff to wear and my mother didn't have money to buy. I have a very recent as well as a past experience with one of the guys that is a part of that community. The way they have control over their mind is sick. Okay, I don't know Tanae Servants, but thank you so much. I don't know you, but thank you for communicating this so people know that I'm not making this stuff up. How about when my mom got stabbed and they didn't want me to go see her and wanted me to keep playing music instead of going? This happened. Jared is not lying. Well, nobody's lying. But I remember his mother getting stabbed. She was attacked at Walmart by a boyfriend after the preacher put her off the property because of the fact that she was dating and he didn't like it. And so he put her off the property and we wound up being around her. And yes, she was stabbed. Okay, she's one of the Felders. Okay, the Felders rolled deep. Boy, there are a lot of y'all. But okay, so the beating. When I wrote the letter, they took me to mental health that Friday. After the mental health appointment, they dropped me back off with my mother and godmother and the insurance lady in our family to go. We were at Salvation Army. As a matter of fact, it's across from Piggly Wiggly. It's a car lot. Now, last I've been through, man, it's a car lot. But back then, it was Salvation Army. 2 sisters from the church came and picked me up from with my mother and godmother. And they tell Aunt Sheila for some reason it's not letting me connect people to the live. I don't know why. But there's another way to do it. I won't figure that out tonight. We'll figure it out for another conversation. So I went, they picked me up, took me back to Alcolu, to the building that used to be the school. Most specifically, the old Georgia Pacific building. When we got there, by this time he was beating us with paddles. We used to get beatings with belts, and then one of the principals gave him a paddle, and he used that, broke that on beating us. That was a wooden paddle. So then he started using a plastic paddle. But this particular paddle was a wooden one. No, it may have been plastic. I can't remember. In any case, I knew it was a paddle. I heard him coming up, and I heard him set the paddle down on the wall, because he believes in mind games. He believes in mind games. I heard him set the paddle on the wall, and he came in. And he said, so how was your appointment? Well, Ella Johnson is never pleasant when you're in trouble. He's not going to be pleasant. So if he does be pleasant, it's sarcasm or he's trying to play you. So I didn't really say much or whatever. And so whatever I said was okay or whatever I said. So he said, good, stripped. Because we always got the beatings naked. And we always had to take everything off. And we had okay. They would always have a folding chair. And we had to put our head through the folding chair, our hands down on one side, and our feet on the other side. And if we moved, he would start over again. And so he would take the paddle, come up like baseball, and then do what he did. And that's how the beatings went. So when the beating was over, he after the beatings they would get alcohol and Neosporin. And I remember thinking, and he said, yeah, this is gonna burn. Oh, you're gonna feel this. This is gonna burn. And so I remember trying to prepare myself for the fact that the Neosporin was going to burn. And I don't know if he had just beat me so bad or if God worked some kind of a miracle, but he poured the green alcohol and all like on my body was water running down. So then after that, you got the Neosporin. The lady that was there went to put it on. He said, no, you don't need to put it on because by this time we're bleeding. You done took a paddle and just came down with all of your force. The skin is gone. I don't want to be graphic, but I'm telling you what happened. So she went to putting on her gloves to put the Neosporin on. And he said, no, you're not going to do it. You're not going to put your hands in that mess. He's going to do it. And so I had to rub the Neosporin in on, okay, you get the point. And left. So I got up, put my clothes back on, and so then he said to me, and I quote, he said, so do you still want to die? You already wrote the letter. All we got to do is take the gun and go out in the woods, and we can finish the job, and they'll really believe you did it because you already said you want to die. I said, no, Ella Johnson, I don't want to die. That was a Friday night. So they dropped me back off with my family, and we went to Dairy Queen. So I couldn't feel nothing in my rear end. I had no feeling for about 2 hours. And then all of this pain came, and I started crying, and I couldn't stop. And so the white lady, the insurance lady that was with us, kept asking me, because she knew something had happened. Because they came, picked me up, and then dropped me back off, and I quite naturally was different. I used to play saxophone at this time, and so I was crying and all that, and I didn't tell. Nobody ever tells. That's why it was allowed to go on. Every one of us boys who grew up over there were beat like this. Every one of us have seen each other. We used to clown each other if someone got in trouble. You got your beating yet? So this is common knowledge for all of the young people who lived in that place. I'm not talking about the elite after school program or the summer program, even though some of them might be aware of, but I'm talking about those who y'all went to school with, who y'all know that I went to school with. They knew. So people who say I'm lying, they're lying. They knew about the beatings. We clowned each other about the beatings. We would ask, did you get your beating yet? Oh, you probably gonna get it today. That night we was in church and I was playing the saxophone, and I fell out. I fainted. And I felt myself going down. And so the son was like, what's wrong with you? And now y'all knew I got a beating, and I had never gotten beat that bad to my recollection. That sticks in my mind as the worst one. And so I fell out. The lady that was there, whose house I stayed in, called me at this time. This was in the church in Summerton. We had a coat room, or music room is what it was called. And we went in there, and she said, so you want to fall out now? You want to act like something's wrong with you? I tell you what, they told me if you act up that we should call the police. You want me to call the police? And I'm telling you this for you to see the mind game. Now, I was too dumb. You went to church with another guy named Jared. Yes, and Jared is on the live. He's on here talking and chatting. This is the mind games they play. Now, y'all know they weren't going to call no police. Because if I had called the police, somebody would have gone to jail. I was bloody. Actively bleeding. To the point that I told my mother and godmother not to do my laundry. And so you threaten me with the police knowing what you all have done? But this is the kind of stuff that they do. My husband was bitten and stabbed, couldn't own cars, property, none of that. All of the money people made had to go on one account. She's telling the absolute truth. My mother's father died in 2000. My mother's father left her money and left her a house. When my mother's grandmother, who was the executor of the estate, wouldn't give the preacher the money, the preacher convinced my mother to not talk to her grandmother anymore. Before her father died, he wanted to buy us a trampoline and a jungle gym and all that. He told my mother's father, and he didn't own this property, but because of the fact that he said it, the property owner at this time, this was before the Alcolu days, said she went along with what the church was saying. Said, we don't want that stuff because when one gets, everybody gets around here. And so we went through a lot of stuff. What you're seeing today was just the climax of a lot of stuff that has gone on. That now those things don't happen as much now because many of us that endured this abuse left when we could, however we could. And different ones of us left in different ways, but every one of us ran away. Every one of us, there are some on this live that can tell you, they didn't just go to him and say, I'm leaving. Nobody ever leaves that way. I can't think of one person in that church who said, I'm moving away and it was okay. Now, I'm understanding now that there are different ones that are moving to other states and things. But I think the dynamic is a little different now because I've been making noise about this for a little bit. But it never got to the point that it did until today when I went to get my mother, who I can post the messages and let you see how afraid she was. And my grandmother who was laid in that bed. I don't beg nobody for anything. And I begged my grandmother to get up and to come. My grandmother retired from New York, moved out here in 2010. My grandmother got hurt on her job. My auntie, which is Kwani's mother, passed away. She never left that place. So, this Rashima is the individual that is related to that girl that we spoke of in the other live, that the pastor adopted as his daughter and then married off to his son. My sister, her child's father, who is the young man Justin Thompson, who was on here talking, helped her move her stuff, and she snuck out while they were out of town on one of these trips. And on it goes. I ran away to a different church and was taken in by a beautiful family that brought me. There's Jared's story. So you see 3 stories. I told you my brother's story, that he got up 3 o'clock in the morning and walked to Sumter, jumping in a ditch every time he seen a red van, because at that time there was a big red van that the bounce house guy drove around. They put Daisha Johnson, they put my granny through hell when my granddad was going there, locking her out of the church. I remember all of this. This was before the Alcolu days. This was in the Somerton days. So this goes to show you, this stuff did not get started in 2003 when the property was bought in Alcolu. This stuff was going on ever since 1995 when Dwayne Johnson Sr. moved his family. As a matter of fact, the church that he came and took over was being run by a woman. But because he didn't believe in women pastors, he finagled his way in there and put her out. The lady's name was Pastor Leek, and he got her put out, and he took over the church. He does not play fair. He does nothing fair. He lives for himself. The Johnson family lives for themselves. And this young lady whose last name is Johnson, that is completely coincidental. She is in no way related to them. My grandmother. So here we go. She got hit by a van and was in the hospital. They wouldn't allow us to see her. So I just said I don't beg anyone for anything. So I begged my grandmother to come with us, because there was a time that my grandmother used to sneak to call me on the phone in the mornings as I was on the way to work, because they were forbidden to talk to me. As a matter of fact, when my grandmother moved here from South Carolina, the pastor took her phone, put it in his desk. I can give you several stories of where phones were taken. There's another young man who is deceased at this. He's now deceased. His name was Clifton Lee. His mother allowed him. Yes, the blue and white striped van was one of the vans we used to ride in at the time. Yeah, and so Clifton Lee is now deceased, but his mother allowed him to come for a little while. Ella Johnson felt that he was too much of a mama's boy, and he took the boy's phone so that he couldn't call his mother as much as he wanted to. I got in trouble because I had a cell phone at the time. I had just graduated from high school, so I could finally get my own phone. And I let him use my phone to call his mother. And I got in trouble, and they called me some things out of my name because of the fact that I let this young man use my phone. When my grandmother came down in 2010, they took her phone. So this business today with cutting the phone off, suspending the line, or whatever they did, Clifton Lee is his page. I think it's still up, but he passed away, unfortunately. He passed away about a year or two ago. Might be longer than that. But those of us who are from Manning would know Clifton. Clifton wanted to be a bus driver. Y'all remember that. Yeah. Someone's laughing. You know that story, don't you? He wanted to be a bus driver. So I begged my grandmother because I knew that the minute a DSS report has been filed, it was filed ahead of time. I filed the report on Thursday to tell them I'm going to get my mother. We're going to try to get my grandmother, but she is incredibly... There was a time that my wife and I were riding and we called ahead of time. Now, when I first left, the preacher was so mad at me that he told me I have to call and get permission. Yes, the church is on Roosevelt. They just turned it into a rental facility, Arc 77. But that was where we used to have church before all this Alcolu stuff. So I was about to tell a story and it slipped my mind. What was I about to say about my grandma? Anyone? What was I about to say? I don't remember. Alright, so the point of it is, it's too much. I would be on here all night talking. I would be, this conversation, like I said, goes at least for my family, 30 years. And so, I don't, I remember, I said I don't beg anybody for anything. I was begging my grandmother, and I called DSS, filed the report on that Thursday, and I told them, I'm going to get my mother, and my grandmother may not come because there was a time, there we go, it's all coming back. There was a time that my wife and I were riding through town in the area, and I called and said, hey, we're coming by to see you. And this is when the preacher was kind of acting halfway nice, and I'll get to that maybe tonight, maybe not. But my grandmother said, hey, yeah, y'all come on by. And we got there, and she was so jumpy and so nervous and so vexed. And this was the norm for her. She was... Who's talking about Brother Sumter? Yeah, he was a part of it too. He's gone, and I think him and his wife are divorced. Let me. I didn't see that. But he's not affiliated with them anymore, and I don't think that him and his wife are together anymore either. And I think he has gone a different way with life. M. Green went to that church. Yes, he did. All of those were adults when we were children, but all of these, as a matter of fact, the young man. I couldn't talk to the girls at school, so we used to write letters. Yeah, you did. Yeah, we did. Yeah, no, we were not allowed to date. There was no such thing as dating for them until you turn 18. So if you liked anyone, yeah, no. But, so I told DSS that if my grandmother does not come, I told them what was going to happen. The phone was going to be disabled. My number is probably blocked. I don't know. Let's call in and see what happens.
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice message.
Either the phone is off or they blocked my number.
0.
There's a way to tell if it's blocked or not. Hold on a minute. What's the number? Oh, no, I got it. Let me go on that post and tell me grandma's number. No, I got it. That's it.
Your call has been forwarded to voice.
So they must have the phone turned off again, because if my number was blocked, it would have rang when I blocked my number to call. But in any case, what's up with Travis? Travis is down in Charleston. He has 2 children. He's doing as best for himself as he can, and he's doing quite well. So Jared brought an interesting point. Never used to let me see my dad when we went to New York. The thing that everyone needs to understand is many of these families are single mothers. Matasha Green, she's still there. She is still there. She's still there. Yeah, Michelle, I just did the *67. That's how I know it's not a block. The phone is either off or it's just turned off. But earlier, they suspended the lines because my mother's phone is on the plan and she can no longer use her phone. Yeah, Travis is not very social. I think he intended to come up here today when we went to get my mother, but the logistics just didn't work out. But part of it is his antisocialness, is his antisocial behavior is, I think, his way of dealing with trauma. We all have stories. She won't respond. She just as fool as her other sisters and won't leave. Yep. Everyone was brainwashed. Made to know how to tell on each other. Made to not know how to be loyal to anybody for the sake of Ella Johnson. That's the only one who gets loyalty. He preached things like, who is my mother? Who is my father? Who is my brother? Family didn't mean anything to him. So he could easily disrupt families because... Now, it's interesting. that he tells everyone else to forget about his kids, but he got his son and that adopted daughter of his who are married with their children living in the house with him. But I have to ask for permission. Today when I went, I took the police with me. And I wouldn't park my car on his property because I'm not allowed on the property. Never did anything to him. Never did anything illegal. And he never even really legally trespassed me. It was just words. But the fact of the matter is I don't have an itching reason to go to Alcolu, South Carolina. The fact of the matter is when I cross that bridge, exit 122 makes me sick to my stomach to this day. I can't stand the place. I feel like that the feds should have been coming and shut it down. You know, I remember hearing about them little children in Utah. I remember hearing about them children in Utah when the buses came and got them in that cult. And I often wondered ever since that, why did buses never come and get us? Why didn't anybody come rescue us? And so, the point is, it's almost 12 o'clock. I have church in the morning. And we'll talk more about this stuff at another time, I guess. Which is crazy. You groom song for your son and turn around and say nobody else can't have nobody yet. Well, the other thing is, his biological daughter just got married. Let me help you understand how crazy this is. So everybody is groomed to want to be like Johnson, to want to be a Johnson. His biological daughter just got married. And she married a young man who was from a family. First of all, she married a young man who was from that commune because nobody else would put up with this crap that he does. When this boy got married, instead of the daughter, Alicia, taking this boy's last name, which was Washington, the boy took the Johnson name and dropped his name. So that's the kind of situation it is. I'm sorry I'm reading these comments. I'm going to get off of here shortly, and I'm going to rest a bit. But I'm telling you all now, it's a cult. What they're doing there is not right. Justin Thompson here. Why you? Oh, mercy. His dad worked in Piggly Wiggly. Whose dad? Someone worked at Piggly Wiggly, but he didn't have any sons. He had daughters. Who has been away from that cult 21 years. Yeah. Mrs. Green, he's been away for a very long time because I was young when he left. I was very young when he left. But I wouldn't recommend anybody give anything to Have Faith Community Development Cooperation. Because everything that they raise, first of all of that stuff on their website and all that stuff they put up is a lie. Or it's a very constricted. Oh, yeah. Jared, yeah. The guy that worked at Piggly Wiggly was, the guy that worked at Piggly Wiggly was Jared, the boy that's on here talking, Jared, that was his uncle. Oh, Jerry Harris, yes. That was his father. Jerry is another one. Now, I don't have a clue where he is. His name was Jerry. Yeah, he left. Oh, Jerry left 2009, 8, somewhere up in there. 2009 or 8. Yeah, Simone, Sierra, yeah, that fabricated truth. Very fabricated story. But... yeah, and I went to school there. The Spanish teacher and her husband bought a house go on my page and you'll see where I gave the tour of the houses, but they regretted it. And so you will see they have a privacy fence on either side of their property because they don't deal with them, because they lied to them to get them to buy the house. First of all, the house was just thrown together. It was not properly built. But the other thing is, there was a number of things that were done that would, and I heard all this from stories from later on. I was gone by the time all of this happened. But I did do a little, because he loved to give tours, so I figured I'd just take a page out his book and give y'all a tour while I was on the property today and let you know what's really happening. Those are all houses of horror, every one of them. The school, the lighthouse, the furniture store, the restaurant. What happened to Otis? Yes, he left, as Jasmine said, as did she. What's up with Daquana? We talked about her earlier. She's married to the preacher's son and has about 4 children. So, the Spanish teacher, they still live there, but from what I understand, he tried to sell a house and couldn't get it sold. Oh yeah, all of it is about money. All of it is about money. And so, to the point about money. Now, I've been gone from there for years. I pastor my own church. And the last thing that went on that caused me and him to clash, my great-grandmother bought and paid for the church that I am in. She was the pastor, and when she died, I inherited the church from her. My church and the house that I have in Florence are paid completely off. This was 2023. Coming out of the pandemic, some of y'all might remember that thing where they had this little flower thing where they talked about, let me get back to that. Let me say this because Mrs. Green put up a point that I do want to acknowledge. Her mother would not leave nor let them see their father. They told them he left, but it's all lies. My husband went to court and all. This is what the preacher does, Dwayne Johnson Sr. He will push people out and then rewrite the narrative. So one of the things that are being said to my grandmother right now, your daughter abandoned you. My mother who left today, your daughter abandoned you. They don't care about you. Nothing could be further from the truth. But he's a master of rewriting the story for his own. And all because my grandmother gets $5,000 a month. And the running conversation is, they're after your money. First of all, one of those checks is $3,000, and it goes to an account that my grandmother doesn't even have access to. She doesn't even know. If they was to ask her, now, it's going to change when they find this video. I'm going to tell you that now. But up until today, my grandmother had no idea what was in that account. Now, they might give her some activity to it tomorrow, but I done already filed a report. And as I said to my grandmother today, I hate to leave you here, but every financial asset that you have, there's a house that is in her name in New York that they use her name in order to get a loan. The church originally owned the house. They needed to get some money up, so they put the house in her name, had her buy the house to get a mortgage, and the house is in her name. They got the people that give her pension thinking that she lives in New York. Whole time she been full-time living in South Carolina. They just got the house and the utilities in her name in New York so that the pension don't go down, because if they tell them that she lives in South Carolina, the pension's going to go down. The cost of living decrease will take effect. Now, at one time she had control of her Social Security check, but according to my mother, as of the other day, they stopped letting her control that check and was giving her a $500 allowance out of that check. So y'all are talking about Matasha Green and Destiny Green and all, and let's talk about the Green family. Let's talk about my grandmother. Let's talk about my mother. All of them lived in one house. My grandmother has the master bedroom in the house. I've seen it today for myself. And my grandmother paid $1,000 a month for that one room in that house because of all of her years of dedication, all of her years of service. My mother, the last time I knew a number, was paying $700, and that's what each of them were paying to live in that house. Well, you had 3 other people who were living in that house, 2 of whom died, and the other one may still be there. I don't know. But all of them people were paying $700. Oh, no, I'm sorry. 3 people died because the mutation, the green girls that we mentioned, their mother passed, and another lady passed. No, 2 died. 1 moved away. Now, the reason why I'm not ashamed to call names is because I will say this. They're going to watch it if they're not already watching. And I dare you to file suit against me. Because I'm going to return a suit against you. You can guess what I'll be suing you for. Probably going to do it anyhow. Because contrary to popular belief over there in Alcolu, South Carolina, I love my family and I loved them when I walked away 16 years ago. My family that is not in Alcolu loves. I have an aunt that's on here watching that is the sister-in-law to my sister. We love Patricia White. But they're going to move her there. They may ship her to Florida. They may send her to New York. I don't know. They have people all over the place. They might keep her there and just keep her on the watch. But I can tell you right now, my grandmother, if the state does not intervene, if you could have only... I didn't think to record the way she was in that bed. Please just go. I don't want no more trouble. Well, the trouble hadn't started yet, Grandma. We can still help you. Please, you got your mama. Just take your mama and go. I'm not going. I can't leave. I can't leave like that. We have to do it the right way. Because the right way is to go to the preacher and tell him that you want to leave. And what he will lie and say is, if you want to leave, I can call somebody to help you leave. But, so let's go back 20 years ago, 26 years ago, 2000. My mother, I told you her grandmother died. Her father died. Her grandmother sent her $3,000 because she was going to leave. My mother, trying to do it the right way, called the preacher and said she's leaving, we're moving to Georgia. He talked her out of leaving, came to the house and took the $3,000 from my mother and pocketed it. Yes, my sister just mentioned they have life insurance policies, $100,000 policies that are assigned to them. Roger Tender, I just realized who you are. Yeah, y'all tore that school up when y'all were there. Y'all ain't do a good enough job though because it's still standing. But, oh mercy. Oh mercy, yeah, y'all. Oh, y'all used to cut up in that school. I'm glad that there are people who are aware of the fact. Oh yeah, Justin, yeah, they don't even know. Even all of this talking that I'm doing right now is just me cracking my knuckles. I have not even flexed yet. Because by the time I finish telling every dirty secret of what goes on over there from what I know, and I'm talking from, I've been gone for 16 years, so ain't no telling what done happened since I've been gone. Yeah, bless your heart, Black Camera. Yeah, they were cool to y'all. We was in there catching hell with them people. No, not one of them, to me, were cool. And still to this day, using my social security number for cards and everything, I have proof and need to know how to sue them. Jared, send me your number, because that's a situation. And he's not lying, because there's another individual who I have paperwork for that they did the same thing. I also was told that they had credit cards in all of the church members' names and that the bounce house business was started based on using those credit cards from the church members. But let's talk about the bounce house business. Tyrone Brailsford Sr. I was coming through college. I was coming out of high school. And Keith, yes, sir. Yeah, you were another one. See, do y'all see how many people are coming on talking about their stories, but yet Dwayne Johnson Sr. will say, I'm lying? I don't have to even talk. Read the stream. So I was coming out of college. Tyrone Brailsford Sr. was in the military for a little while. And The pity of Ella Brayford's wife is she was not. So my grief with her is that she didn't come up in this stuff. She got brainwashed after she came in. She came in as a full-grown adult and she's only been around for about. Tell her screenshot it and put it back in. Long story short. Oh, okay, I see. Long story. Long story short, back in October of 24, I decided to help a guy I used to date from the community to help him get on his feet and show him that he can live without them. And they told him that he would go to hell, that the person they want him to marry is not me. This is their verbiage. This is all their verbiage. Everything this young lady is saying is them to the core. The person they want him to marry is not me, so they would do whatever they have to make sure this guy hurts me and have to return back to the community. They told him they would give him a house where he has to pay no bills if he stays and marry a girl from the community. And lo and behold, he began speaking back to the girl from the same community, and maybe 2 weeks after I kicked him out, good God, I didn't know this. So I knew he left, and I knew he went back. Mind you, he stayed with me because he was gone for about 3 months, worked for their bounce house business, and it wasn't until started speaking back to the female that they started to pay him for his work. And so after they made him marry that girl, which is debatable whether or not the marriage is real, but I won't talk about that, they sent him off to the military. So he went and joined the army. So Brayford, Tyrone Brayford, he was in the military for a little while, got out right after 9/11, he got out of the military. That's 2001. Around that time, he got out. I graduated high school 2008, so this is 2008-2009 school year. He filed a claim and started going through the process of getting 100% disability. Jared, get life locked so you can see who's using your credit. Yeah, and pull your credit report. But we'll talk more about that, Jared. We'll talk more about that because you're not the only one with that story. See, this is why. Let me tell y'all something. I have been doing my best to leave Elder Johnson and that little cult alone because the school is a sham. The diplomas are not even real. People cannot use them. That's the first thing. The other thing is, when it gets into people's financial records, I can personally tell you of a situation where I know a fraud. And I was gonna sue then. I was gonna sue about my high school diploma. I backed off. I was gonna sue about another fraud issue. Backed off. You have all of these different things that are coming in, and they still bothering people. The best thing for them to have done would have been to let my grandmother leave today. But since they didn't, they rolled the dice. I'm gonna just say Jumanji. And we're going to let the cards fall where they may. Been saying that it was off down there when we went to school there. Yeah? And now the school don't even exist anymore. Okay, so let me help y'all. There's a sign up. They got a sign that they put up for the school. The school is not in that building, and the school don't even have students anymore. There are 5 children that go to that school now. It's Sister Brayford and Elder Brayford's 2 children. As a matter of fact, it's only 1 child because the other one, they just graduated her early. And then it's all of the preacher, Dwayne Johnson Sr., it's all of his grandchildren. Those are the 5 students in that school. It's not a school. It's a daycare. It's a glorified daycare. And it's not even accredited. It has not been accredited since I doubt this even a school. I think they must be running a homeschool and still just using the name MGJ, yeah, Jumanji, because it's about to be a disaster. The FBI, the CIA, SLED, everybody. They need all of the law enforcement. Oh, Lord. Well, I guess now we know who the person, I wasn't going to say the name. What happened to the other young people that went there? Amani is no longer there. Quite a few of us have left, and there are others. So let's talk about leaving. There are some who have left, like I did, and got out. You need TikTok so you can do panels. I don't know what panels are, but we'll see. I don't know how that works. Yeah, forgive me for being a little antiquated. So many left, and there are some who made their distance a little bit at a time, but they still come back and support or send money. So that, because for me, I made a clean break, so I'm completely excommunicated. I'm cursed. I'm gonna die. Nothing good. I'm crazy. All of this. What about the castle business? They still doing it. They had one blow it up today. They had the bounce house business blow it up today, but they used other people's money in order to get that business off the ground. And technically, so let's talk about why it's called Kitty's Bounce Houses. Wait till Lisa and Whitney and them. They are not there, but they are still affiliated. To Lisa, I definitely know, but I'm quite sure. Well, all of them are still affiliated, but they no longer live on the property. So they never made a clean break like I did. They just made distance and got away. And then they made distance and got away. And Talisa just recently moved to Florida. Whitney is a flight attendant somewhere. But they still come around and send money and things of that nature. The bounce house business, they called it Kitty's Bounce House. So the owner of the bounce house business, Tyrone Brailsford Sr., is supposed to be a 100% disabled veteran. Deshaun is married to Alicia Johnson. He dropped his last name and he is now Deshaun Johnson. He plays keys for the church. By the way, they have service Sundays at 7 o'clock if you ever want to go by. They named the bounce house Kitty's Bounce Houses because Kitty is the nickname for Tyrone Brailsford Sr.'s wife. And so they named it that way so that he don't have any businesses tied to his name. The other thing that you will never see Dwayne Joseph Johnson Sr. put his name on anything. He will never put his name on anything. He uses everybody else's names because he has disability. He gets a check. I remember when me and Jared called ourselves dating, that man hated that crap, and he used to tell my mom that I was going to burn in hell or something. Yep, that's the language. Everybody's going to hell. Everybody's cursed. Everybody's going to die. For not... Who go to church at 7? Cults! And here it is. Now, there are 3 churches. When his father was alive, those 3 churches ran independently. Now, they're all on Zoom together, 7 o'clock in the morning, and whoever he asks to preach or tells to preach is who is responsible for preaching. But they get on Zoom 7 o'clock in the morning, and they're on there doing whatever they do. I don't know. I've not ever been on a Zoom. I've not been to a church service with them since I left. I've never. How did you all get through school dealing with this? I'm sure our classmates' hearts. Okay, so Billie Jean. Some of them knew. Some of them knew. I can tell you one specific story because I talked. I got in trouble for talking, but I talked. But I talked in high school, maybe 8th grade. How did you get through school dealing with it? We were taught to shut up, pretend nothing's happening. What goes on around here stays around here. I'm sure our classmates' hearts will break knowing this is something you went through. High school days were rough, tough sometimes, and I remember the picking. Okay, so I won't call names in this regard, but there are 2 or 3 people who knew for sure that something was up. Now, nobody knew the ugly details. Nobody knew the ugly details. But so one day we were in class. This was before they pulled us out of public school. The private school was open at this time, but remember I told you all in the other live that the high schoolers stayed in school a few more years longer. So we were in drama class. And I was sitting on the stage talking to a group of friends, and out of the clear blue sky, my mother, Elder Johnson and Sister Langhorne, Alfreda Langhorne, just walked into the room. Because they used to roam the halls like nothing. And I was in the middle of laughing, and I remember thinking, oh my God, I'm going to be in trouble. And so I stopped laughing, and I turned in the chair, and I just sat back. And Elder Johnson says, oh, why you quit laughing? You should be pleasant. You should engage with your classmates, and nothing's wrong with that. The trauma was them just showing up. And I was in high school. I was in 10th grade. And they just showed up out of the blue sky. And it was like, what do I say? One, I was embarrassed. She left. The African lady with the gap left. She packed her bags in the middle of the night and went and got out of there. The African lady with the gap. But that's how we, and so I will say this in regards to getting through school. I got in trouble one time because I did talk. I didn't talk to any adults. I talked to, I'm going to not tell names with this either. I talked to somebody, and one of the other young people who were a part of the cult heard me telling some things. And they went back and told that I told. I will never forget. Again, I tell you, there are some things I will never forget. So we had a property, or he has a property that we called the Bed and Breakfast. Ella Johnson called me out of the van, because we all rode in vans, and everyone else was at the front of that property. He took me and went behind some trees. He said, so you're telling people that you're being abused? You telling people you're being Dr. Lemon, sir, bless you. So, Dr. Lemon, I'll say something to you in a minute, and it's an honor to see you on the post. I'll say something to you that I will bring to your recollection. I was being severely facetious. Don't go to that church. He picked me up over his head. He said, so you want to say you're being abused? He picked me up over his head and threw me on the ground. Sister Margie is the only one that I think had some sense back then. And she's no longer there either. But I won't talk about her. He picked me up over his head, threw me on the ground. I'm going to show you what abuse is. This is what abuse is. Picked me up again and threw me on the ground. Dr. Lemon, you will remember in 7th grade that I cried every time I got written up. And they used to talk about me crying all the time. The reason I cried is because right, wrong, or indifferent, one boy, the first time I ever got suspended, a white boy stood up in the desk and called me a nigger. And I said something back then, and I'll never forget. I won't call the principal's name because I know him well now, and we get along, and I don't want to indict anybody other than whom I'm indicting. But he came on the announcements that morning, and he said, anybody that come to my office today, you're going home. That boy stood up and called me a nigger. And I didn't retaliate because I was scared to fight, because I knew if I ever got suspended, what would happen. I got suspended and went home. When we got over on to the property, he beat me. No questions asked, not what happened, no fact finding. You got suspended, you making us look bad. And so, whenever I would get written up, I knew what was going to happen. And I wasn't no bad student. The most I ever got written up for, with the exception of one isolated incident, I stole a laptop. Most of us in Manning know about that. But that was the worst thing I ever did in school. Most of the other things was talking too much. I was not a bad student. So his justification for pulling me out of school was, he said, and I quote, you wrote that suicide letter and they feel like you're going to come back and shoot up the school. They don't want you at Manor High School anymore. This was when it finally came out that I wasn't going back to Manor High School, because I told y'all earlier, I didn't even know. So there were two people who were called into a meeting, and they were asked, yeah, 2nd grade, Charmaine, Miss Demery, she's running for a state office now. She's doctored them right now. She's running for a state office. That was back when I first moved to South Carolina. Yeah, my mouth got me written up a lot back then. But that's all I ever got in trouble for, was talking too much. And so he says all of the young people, there were two who were taken in a meeting, and he acted like he was giving them an option as to whether or not they wanted to come to MGJA. And they gloated about that. Well, we had a choice. Y'all didn't have no choice. We had a choice. Only for him to come to church a few weeks later and say nobody had a choice.
Faye is on the line from the insurance company?
Faye is on here?
Yeah.
On the live?
Do you remember the one with Sister Kim?
I talked about that. So the individual who I talked about, Faye Coker, I see her. I remember when he beat you so bad you couldn't sit down and you were bruised and crying. Now, she was the woman that I referred to earlier that I was crying, Faye Coker, and she was saying, if you tell me what's wrong, I can help you. If you tell me what's wrong, I can help you. And I wouldn't tell. I wouldn't say anything. But she was the one that adopted our family and that would buy us clothes. And she was coming to the church at one time, and the preacher called her and told her, don't buy us nothing else. Not to do anything for us. He still liked to talk. I got to church tomorrow too. I don't quite get what that is. I don't get what's being said there. I will say. Huh? I don't know. No, this is someone else. But in any case, y'all, this is a ongoing and it's a long saga. It's a lot. And it's 12:21. And yeah, she used to bring us pizza. She had the friend at Pizza Hut who used to give us pizza. And now, in regard, my sister's on here. My brother's not on here because all of this is triggering for him. And I know that it is. So he wouldn't be on here. No, Roderick, that's not that Faye. That Faye is blocked. She blocked me. You won't see her on here. She is Ella Johnson's sister. She won't be on here. They'll go and watch it later and then come and try and retaliate some kind of way. But I'm grateful to see that everybody that's on here have their own stories. And I just don't know. Make sure the first live stay posted. Okay, Keon, I just seen your text. And I'm not going to take it down. What I am going to do is I'm going to download all of these lives and I will upload them to my YouTube page so that, because Facebook takes them down automatically after 30 days. But I have no reason to lie on these people. I have no reason to make anything up. I have no reason to fabricate. As awful as everything I'm telling you sounds, all of it is the awful truth. They set this into motion when my grandmother elected not to come today with my mother. If I don't know why I didn't think to record, but if you could see the way she was in that bed trembling and me and my grandmother always had a close relationship prior to her coming to South Carolina. And so the running conversation is we after her money. We don't need her money. We don't need her money. I've been 16 years on my own. I own property. I don't need her money. But it's quite rich coming from them who are using her money however they see fit. And I can't wait till someone does a financial audit of her bank account. I cannot wait. I will not rest until one is done. And I will be sure to point out that not one check from that Bank of America account was written by her. Not one. Not one was signed by her because she has no dealings with that account. So I'm going to get off of here. And get some rest. Have church tomorrow. And I thank you all for your ear. Thank you for your support. Those of us to whom have skin in the game in this situation, my sisters, my mother, we appreciate it. We would appreciate, and I share it. Share it. The word needs to get out. Manning is too small of a locale for people to not know that this is going on right there. I'm going to leave it now. You all have a good night. Thank you for your time.